Enhancement Shaman is meta? Hell yeah! Let's wreck some meters!
Hold on there, Sparky.
Sparky?
Did you get your potion?
Lotion?
And your weapon enchant?
My girlfriend's butt spank?
And let's not forget about your flask.
So in the glory of my dam, they will gasp.
And that's why he's single and nobody will touch his jingle. But hey, if you want to rock so the ladies can love your sweet talk, then watch this video for more than a reason to prepare and smash Shadowlands first season.
That is high treason.
Oh, go back to your bits and squeeze them.
Pushing keys and downing raid bosses can be an easy or difficult feat, depending on how prepared you are, and we are here to help you! Subscribe and click the bell thingy. What? You thought this video will be any different? Get in the spirit of the holidays, and if you enjoy our content, help your fellow nerds out by showing it with 2 clicks, 3 clicks. Knowing what you play is important. It doesn't matter if your spec is top in the meta or not. Playing it right can make the difference between you helping kill the boss or being carried. You need to know what talent builds you have to get for both raiding and dungeon, since most specs can specialize in single target, aka taking down the bosses, or AoE, which translates into a lot of overall damage in Mythic Plus, where clearing the keys in time will probably be your main goal. Not only that, details about your gear and more importantly your covenant are going to get you up there. Soulbinds and Conduits are also on the menu, since the difference between the best setup and whatever you can come up with on the fly will add up. Even if one talent or one conduit is wrong and they don't alter your DPS too much or your HPS, if you keep adding them up, they will eventually start to really make a difference. Depending on when you watch this video, we will already have the first class guide out, with the rest following quick so you can get your spec up to par nice and easy. We will cover all of these basics, what to get and how to play, and this should help you start your journey and be on your way. It had to be done. Not only that, you can talk to the smartest and bestest of the best for each spec to get some in-depth know-how about the advanced bits of your spec. Some of them have even written online guides on Wowhead and Icy Veins for your spec, and that is usually coming from world first DPSers or class leading theory crafters. Researching the fight is your next priority. Sure, it's nice to see a boss fight for the first time and marvel at the encounter design. Heck, we might do just that the first time around. But if you are serious about clearing fast, or at least not spending days wiping at one boss, or never understanding why those dogs in Halls of Atonement kill your tank so quickly, you need to read up. The Dungeon Journal is your first stop if anything. There are so many players who just cluelessly ram their head against the content, and although discovering the mechanics is cool, unless your whole group is down on it, it's likely you'll hold them back and might even get kicked. You should still have the time to check online resources as well. Fat Boss does raid boss guides every season for every boss on every difficulty, and their analysis is spot on, and probably one of the main sources most guilds use for learning raid mechanics. If you are a tank, Panthea is your guy, and he has been making the tank notes at tanknotes.com for years and years, ever since I was a little boy playing in the sand, butt naked. The website can guide you as a tank on what you need to pay attention to, what cooldowns to use on which mechanic, how to position the boss, and so on. I'm telling you, this site is a tank's wet dream. So you have your spec researched and nailed down. You know the fights to the extent you are willing to learn them. What's next? Well, Consumables, of course. With Shadowlands, we now have a lot more consumables to play with. That's good for people who enjoy customizing their characters and having just more stuff. But that means that there are more things for you to get if you want to min-max. The mandatory ones, or the ones that show you respect your group enough to not be a lazy bum, cause, you know, let's put our hands together and do this shit properly. Start with weapon enchants. There are a few ones right now, and they kind of factor into researching your spec. After this, we recommend having flasks, food buffs, and damage potions. These are pretty basic consumables, but using them not only gives your character more power, but also shows your group you are taking this seriously enough to be a part of the adventure and put your best foot forward. There are obviously more enchants on rings, for instance, which are always a thing. Chests have one now too. Cloaks and now weapon oils and weight stones as well have made their way into the game. Especially armor kits, which have seen a return now. They are pretty cheap to make, although cost more on the auction house, and they last 2 hours but persist through death. All of these will undoubtedly increase your character's output, but also its survivability, which are all important in surviving and accomplishing your task, whether it's progressing through Castle Nathria or pushing your key one level higher. One note about cauldrons: they seem to be a pain to make at the moment, and they were and still are designed to be a group effort reward for guilds or simply communities that can pool resources together. A good way to prep for pushing content, whether it's Mythic Plus or Mythic raid bosses, is to make sure your character has the most amount of power it can have. There are difficulties in terms of mechanics that don't factor in your eye level. Mechanics that do, think of those that do mandatory group damage, and having more stamina, aka more eye level, helps. But people make mistakes all the time, at any skill level. Mistakes are human, and mistakes are mitigated by player power. The more damage you do, the more healing you do, or the less healing you require, will help your group catch up and not lose the encounter. Depending on what content you are pushing, there are ways to get more gear and prepare for it. Mythic Zeros are usually the point to start, especially if you just recently reached level 60 or it's a new patch with the season not yet live. Although you can only do a Mythic dungeon once per week, it's still a fairly easy way for a quick epic. After that, it depends on what content you do, but we will focus more on PvE here. Spamming lower key Mythic dungeons with a group of the same armor type as you is one of the fastest ways to raise your general eye level, since it's inevitable someone will loot something that's better for someone else. And in the long run, the gear evens out and everybody will be pimped out. Doing the raid on a lower difficulty for specific pieces in your weakest slot is also a good idea, especially if you can stack, again, classes with the same armor type. This is easier done in guilds, but hey, the World of Warcraft is your oyster, so use that group finder for whatever you want. Doing the story campaign also offers you with a gear set that you can upgrade with anima. Depending on how lucky you were so far, you can find that one last item in your bags looted already from the story but not upgraded yet. Or maybe even if you don't like spamming lower dungeons and raids and you just like questing through the story, then this can be a way for you to get gear. There's something for everybody. The legendary when crafted starts at 190 eye level, which is a nice boost, and depending on your resources you can have it crafted even higher. Not only is your legendary a major source of your character's power, but also a big stat stick if crafted in the right item slot, like chest, legs, and helm. Part of your spec research should include which legendary you need, which our videos will have, but pretty much all online written guides will have that info as well. If you are not 100% sure of where it drops, check your adventure journal and you will see a Powers tab where all the legendaries will be gathered. Find yours and you will also see where it drops from. Go and farm that shit, should be an easy drop. Conduits have eye levels as well, which actually determine their power level. Conduits have fixed drop points from dungeons, raids, and such, but you can also find them as world quest rewards sometimes. Look at your map and you might get lucky with an easy conduit upgrade. It will matter especially for the ones that offer a percentage-based power increase, where every percent will make a difference. Last bit is the Renown, which is the main player power resource in the game. Renown unlocks more traits in your soulbind, aka more power for you. It gives you access to even more soulbinds as a consequence of you just progressing through your Covenant story. That and a lot of cosmetics, but cosmetics are not the focus of this video right now. Renown is fairly easy to get. Simply follow through you with your Covenant's campaign and any dailies and side quests you can pick from your Covenant Sanctum. This is probably the most controversial topic here, and I feel this should be the simplest and most straightforward one. Listen, I will tell you something you may not like to hear, but it has to be done. If you want to raid, even push Mythic keys, you need a guild. That's it. It's an MMO. It's not a single player RPG that you play on your own terms all the time. Don't get me wrong, you can totally do that, but you will find yourself limited. You can raid and do keys without a guild. Is it efficient though? I don't think so, at least for raiding. With keys you can get away since you just need 4 other friends to do it, which we'll get to in a bit. But for raiding it's different. And getting a guild is not complicated, but it does require you to get off your ass and put in a minimum amount of research. The best place to start if you are new to this or haven't done so already is the guild recruitment forums for your region and/or server. Or simply scroll to the server section of the WoW forums and you will see that each server has its own corner, and most posts on those servers are for recruitment, either guilds recruiting or people putting their applications forward for interested guilds to find, just like getting a job. Depending on your server, you might have to do some digging. Keep in mind that you should choose a guild that can raid at your ideal times. There's no point in joining a guild if you cannot attend their raid times. No matter how busy you are, if you're willing to dedicate a few hours per week out of your free time, you will eventually find a guild that can accommodate your schedule. Maybe that is on a different server, maybe even a different region if you have graveyard shifts or something similar. It's not ideal, it will cost you more to switch, but hey, you get to enjoy the game the way it was meant to be played. I found the guild we are in after 1 or 2 hours of searching on the forums, applied on their website and got in, and with my hand on my heart, I have never had more fun raiding than with a guild. You can get that curve or cutting edge with pugs, but progressing with your guildies, friends and people you are fighting side by side each week is a special feeling. You cannot replace that camaraderie, and if I had to pay a server hop to be in a guild like this, I would. My 2 cents. Depending on the guild you join and what you are willing to sacrifice, you might want an alt or 2 if your guild requires this. That can be to help people gear by stacking those armor types like we said, or maybe a fight in the raid could really use your alt more than your main. I would say this applies to mythic guilds only, and mythic guilds that really know their shit and not just follow content creators and world first raiders trying to copycat their behavior. Don't force yourself to play something you don't like just because a guild wants to be something it's not though. Our advice. Whether it's from your guild's roster or Pug World, whether it's for your raiding needs or mythic key pushing needs, you want friends to make the game enjoyable and even actually efficient. Especially for Mythic Plus, people struggle finding groups often, and we get a lot of comments on our stream at twitch.tv/MarcelianOnline, where we sometimes run raids and dungeons with you. But enough about self-plugging. I won't be like your mom sending you to school telling you to make friends. If you're a lone wolf, go for it. More power to you. Just don't tell me you are not getting into Mythic Plus groups. If you don't have IRL friends or guildies that can run those keys with you, pug keys, and whenever you find someone you can joke with, someone that knows their stuff and you know can be fun to play with, add them to your list. Say stuff like, hey man, it's been super fun smashing bosses. Would you like to do more of this tomorrow as well? Do this enough times and you will eventually have a list of people that can do dungeons, and you might even make a stable group that will do dungeons with you every day. Where there's a will, there's a way. Maybe guilds aren't your thing. Maybe you don't care for friends. Then you can still hop into communities. There are in-game communities you can look for. We have one as well, with the in-game system. There are also Discord communities, like a lot of them, from secret finding to gold making and so on. There are definitely a lot of ways for you to connect to people for whatever activity you want to undergo in WoW, and no matter what, MarcelianOnline recommends being a part of any group of people when raiding and doing dungeons. Yeah, I've mentioned it before, but WoW is a massive multiplayer online role-playing game. You cannot play alone and still have the same experience the game means you to have. Trying to find ways to do endgame without bothering with guilds and communities is not only going to be harder for you, but will also not give you the same satisfaction to play the game. You don't have to be in a guild or community or have a lot of friends to play, but in that case you can't also complain you can't get into groups or you cannot raid. I have friends that cleared mythic bosses without a guild. It's possible, just, not what we recommend. But at the end of the day, you are paying your own sub, so you can play how you want to. The game was designed to be played with a group, however, and I have been on both sides, and the sides with the guilds and friends is infinitely superior. Thank you for watching this far, and thank you to our patrons for supporting our content, our channel, our platform, everything that we do from YouTube to Twitch and everything else. Thank you very much, and if you, dear viewer, found this helpful and you want to help us a little bit more. It's not required, but highly appreciated. There's a link down below to our Patreon page and also to our merch page and other things of interest that you might like. So check it. Thank you for watching the video so far. We'll see you next time.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.